With the most recent June 24th balance patch, the devs decided to change things up for classes in a big way. The modifications came mostly in the form of build changes for underperforming builds or builds that they wanted to tweak playstyles for. Necromancer, Engineer, and some Elementalist DPS builds were adjusted, but a very critical and long-awaited change was made to the Tempest trait line that arguably makes Heal Tempest the best healer in the game outright. The trait in question is Elemental Bastion, which is the old Auramancer trait of yesteryear, but now it does not only its current effects, healing allies when you grant them auras, but it provides them with alacrity as well. Before this patch, alacrity was provided through the use of overloads from a different trait, which will still be the primary way the DPS alacrity builds function. But as far as the heal build is concerned, we are now moving to an aura spam playstyle. Before we get into the traits that make this all possible, let me explain briefly why auras are so powerful. Auras are, in short, hard to get. They are irremovable buffs that either give you a bonus as a player or do something to the enemy. Auramancer Tempest is one of the few classes that can generate these buffs for others on demand. Traditionally, most auras are acquired through combo fields and leap finishers. There are light auras, dark auras, and other auras. However, the four main auras that the Tempest provides are Fire Aura, which burns foes and grants might when you are hit, Frost Aura, which chills foes when you are hit and gives you a 10% damage reduction buff, Magnetic Aura, which reflects projectiles that are aimed at you, and Shocking Aura, which deals stun or CC damage to nearby attacking foes. On the surface, these buffs may seem inconsequential, and when having to trade off between an alacrity provider or an aura provider, the choice was obvious. But now that you can have the best of both worlds with a heal alacrity provider that also generates a ton of auras for your subgroup, there's really no reason not to run it. For the gear and traits, we are going to be using Dagger Warhorn with Transference and Concentration Sigils. The Dagger skills that generate auras are your Dagger Main Hand Air Attunement, the skill Shocking Aura, and the Warhorn skill Sand Squall in Earth Attunement, which gives Magnetic Aura. Sand Squall is part of your normal healing and boon generation rotation, so you'll be using that a lot anyway. The gear is full Harrier's or Minstrel's gear. There are a few different variations when it comes to the trait lines that can be used in different instances or encounters, and depending on which trait line you pick, it can increase or lower the amount of passive boon duration you get from these trait lines. In the event you do overcap on a given trait line or setup, you can swap some of this gear out with Givers or Magi's, but a full set of Harriers or Minstrels works just fine, even if you do end up overcap. You are going to be running Runes of the Monk and Relic of Caracosa. Moving into traits, this is where things get a little tricky. We will cover the standard stuff that is not going to change, and you are going to be running those trait lines 100% of the time, and then we will talk about the variations. The Tempest trait line is your mandatory spec. You are a heal alacrity Tempest after all, and you are going to be using 3-3-3 with Unstable Conduit, Elemental Bastion being the key things here. Unstable Conduit allows your overload skills to grant you auras, and Elemental Bastion makes auras heal and grant alacrity. The next 100% run trait line is Water. You're going to be running 1-2-2 with the important traits being Soothing Ice, which gives you another avenue for generating Frost Aura through the use of your healing skill, and most importantly, the trait Powerful Aura, which makes any aura that you generate for yourself to also be granted to nearby allies. This trait is the most important one, since combining this with Elemental Bastion makes this build function. The last trait line is where things get a little spicy. The general purpose trait line for a Heal Tempest is Arcane 3-1-1, and this gives you passive boon duration, faster elemental recharge through the passive trait Elemental Enchantment, while the other skills help you with boon generation. For the most part, this is a decent trait line for general healing. However, other trait lines can be more benefit depending on what kind of encounter encounter you're in. The fire trait line, specifically with 3-2-2 or 3-2-1, works well depending on your playstyle. This trait line gives you access to 2 really good aura traits with the passive trait Sunspots, which gives you access to fire aura when you swap to the fire attunement, and smothering auras, which cleanses conditions when you grant somebody an aura. The earth trait line, specifically 3-2-2, gives a lot of good boons through the trait's elemental shielding, which makes auras also grant protection, but also gives you more access to stability through the trait Rock Solid, which grants stability to allies when you attune to earth. The last trait, written in stone, allows signets to continue giving their passives to you while on cooldown, but it also gives you access to on-demand auras, since using a signet grants an aura of your choice: magnetic, fire, shocking, or frost, depending on the signet that you decide to use. The last optional trait line is air, and it would be air 1-3-2, and this trait line gives you more access to swiftness and fury through Zephyr's boon, but more importantly allows your stun duration to be increased through the trait Storm Soul, which can help with CC on CC heavy encounters. Now, the last optional trait line is up to your preference, but for the most part, the earth and fire trait lines are likely going to be your most useful ones due to stability access or Condi cleanse if you decide to swap off the arcane trait line. Now let's talk about skills. For this build, there are really only 2 recommended skills, being Wash the Pain Away as your heal skill, which heals in a large area and removes Condis on every tick, and the skill Rebound, which is the best in slot clutch save skill for the Elementalist. If you are pugging with this build and you do not have Rebound, you are basically griefing your team. The only acceptable alternative to Rebound is Tornado, which gives large amounts of CC through a pulsing launch tick. This leaves you with 3 available slots for skills. The fastball, easy, and good skills would be all of the Tempest shouts. Feel the Burn, Aftershock, and Eye of the Storm are all great. Feel the Burn gives party-wide fire aura and might. Aftershock gives Aegis, protection, magnetic aura, and is a blast finisher. And Eye of the Storm is a party-wide stun break. It grants stability, super speed, and swiftness. Various signets are also really valuable if you decide to run the Earth trait line, since you can use them to generate auras. And the only conjure weapon worth taking would be Frostbow for additional break bar damage. Talking about playstyle, largely the playstyle of this build is very active, swapping attunements, overloading, using weapon skills, using utility skills to cycle through or upkeep different auras. Combos that would be worth noting would be Fire 3 and Water 3, or Fire 3 into Earth 3 for a fire aura. However, the use of different skills and elemental attunements will largely be determined by which trait line you choose to take and what type of encounter you are up against. The only 2 skills that are absolutely critical are the skills Heatsink, which is Fire Skill 4, which grants boons and extends them to allies, and then Earth Skill 4, Sand Squall, which extends boons on yourself and allies. These 2 skills are consistently applying boons to everybody in your subgroup, and they should be used off cooldown. Since weapon skills will generate auras, combos will generate auras, swapping attunements will generate auras, or performing an overload will generate auras, you will have to determine which aura you want or just spam them all. They do not overwrite each other, and they serve as a nice bonus to doing your regular job of providing boons and healing to your subgroup. So the question you might have is, why is this the best healer? Well, if I haven't said auras enough in this video already, it's because of auras. Other classes have access to auras too. The Heal Chronomancer can generate Chaos Aura, which is awesome. The Heal Firebrand has access to Light Aura, which is nice. And Heal Scourge may have access to Dark Aura with this recent patch. But they really don't compare to the synergy that this build has with auras. So where does this build still lack? It still lacks with hard CC. Elementalist does not compare to any of the other healers in terms of crowd control, which limits its ability to compete in areas like fractals specifically. Additionally, the trade-offs required for this build often require an entire trait line swap, For instance, Fire and Earth are both really nice trait lines to have, one providing Conti Cleanse and the other providing easy access to stability and large amounts of protection. However, you can only pick one or the other. I think that in the general use encounters like raids or strikes, this build has a ton of potential, and giving healers a unique thing that they do better than others is really healthy, not only for class identity, but also for the strategy elements of the game for crafting unique squad compositions that can be used against any of these encounters. As it stands, I still believe that the CC, Aegis, and stability access of the Heal Firebrand and of the Heal Chronomancer gives a really hard time for other healers to compete, but this Tempest build really is a breath of fresh air in the healer and support build space for most PvE content. So while it might not be the new best healer, it is still really fun to play. And with that, I want to thank you for watching. A big thanks to all of my subscribers and a special thanks to all my members who support the channel. It has been a while since I dropped a traditional build video, but I promise I will keep you guys up to date with quality Guild Wars 2 videos when there are things that are worth mentioning. Thanks again, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.